It was an ordinary afternoon when I first spotted her, a small, scruffy puppy sitting quietly beside an old cardboard box in an alley. Her fur was matted, and she appeared tired, but there was something about the way she sat so still and protective that made me stop. She wasn't barking or running around like most puppies would. Instead, her eyes were focused on the box, watching it as though it held something precious. Curiosity piqued. I took a step closer. The puppy didn't run or bark. She just stared at me, her little body tensed, as if warning me not to come any closer. There was something incredibly powerful in her gaze, something fierce and protective, and it made me wonder what was inside that box, and why was she guarding it so fiercely? I slowly took a few more steps, unsure of what I was walking into. The puppy didn't flinch. She stayed right where she was, watching me with an intense gaze. I could tell she was nervous, but also determined. It wasn't the typical behavior you'd expect from a young dog. Most would run up to greet a stranger, tail wagging, eager for attention. But not this one. She was guarding something. I crouched down, lowering my body to make myself less threatening. "Hey there, little one," I said gently, my voice barely above a whisper. "What's inside the box?" The puppy didn't move. Instead, she stepped slightly to the side, but not far enough to allow me a clear view. It was almost as if she was testing me, weighing my intentions. My heart went out to her. She was clearly scared, but the determination in her eyes spoke volumes. I reached out a hand, slowly, my movements deliberate and soft. "I'm not here to hurt you, I promise," I added, hoping my tone would soothe her. She eyed my hand cautiously, but after a long pause, she finally stepped aside, her body still tense. I could feel the bond she had with whatever was inside the box. There was no question in my mind that she was its protector, its guardian. I looked inside, half expecting to find a pile of old clothes or discarded trash. But what I saw instead was far from what I expected. There, wrapped in a torn piece of fabric, was a tiny, fragile kitten. It looked up at me weakly, its tiny body trembling. My breath caught in my throat. The little puppy had been guarding this kitten all along, protecting it from the world. The sight of the puppy's fierce protection of the kitten brought a wave of emotion over me. The little dog, despite being so young and vulnerable herself, had taken on the responsibility of a protector. She was not just a pet. She was a guardian, offering her own warmth and safety to the tiny, defenseless creature lying in the box. I reached toward the kitten slowly, making sure not to scare either of them. The puppy's eyes followed my every move, but she didn't stop me. It was as if she was silently asking for help, asking me to take care of her friend. I picked up the kitten gently, feeling its tiny heartbeat against my hand. The puppy, still standing beside me, wagged her tail ever so slightly. She seemed relieved, as if she knew the kitten was now safe. And in that moment, I realized I was witnessing something extraordinary, a love, a bond, a promise of protection between these two vulnerable creatures. I carefully cradled the kitten in my hands, its small form soft and fragile. I could see that it had been through a lot. Its fur was matted and dirty, and it was so thin I could feel its bones under my fingers. But what really struck me was how it clung to me, seeking warmth and comfort, as though it knew that it was safe now. And in a way, it was the puppy, still standing protectively by my side. Watched me closely. Her eyes never left the kitten. It was clear to me now that she had been the kitten's sole guardian, providing everything she could to keep it safe from the dangers of the outside world. I gently stroked the kitten's head, trying to calm it down. It let out a small mew, a sound that was so delicate it almost broke my heart. I looked at the puppy and smiled softly. She was a little warrior, a protector. She had chosen to take care of the kitten, even though she was just a puppy herself. As I held both the puppy and the kitten close, I couldn't help but wonder how they ended up in this situation. Was the puppy abandoned, too? Did someone leave the kitten here, knowing the puppy would protect it? Or had the two of them found each other on the streets, forming a bond that nothing could break? The more I thought about it, the more I realized how much this puppy had given. She had given up her own safety, her own comfort, to ensure the kitten had a chance at life. She had become its protector, its family, and in that moment, I made a vow to them both. I wouldn't let them go. I carefully placed the kitten back into the box, making sure it was warm and safe. The puppy watched me intently, but now she seemed to trust me. She gave a soft bark, a sound of acknowledgement. It was as if she was telling me that it was okay, that I could help them. I knew then that I had to act fast. I couldn't let these two helpless creatures stay out here in the cold any longer. They needed shelter, food, and most importantly, love. As I looked at the puppy, her small, proud chest puffing out as she guarded the kitten, I realized that I was witnessing something rare. This wasn't just a dog protecting a kitten. This was the kind of bond that only a true protector could form, the kind of bond that was born out of necessity and love. As I looked at the puppy, her gaze fixed on the kitten with such love and devotion, I was struck by the harsh reality of their situation. They were alone, both of them. No one had come looking for them, and the cold, harsh world outside had left them to fend for themselves. But in this moment, they had each other. And for the puppy, that was enough. She wasn't just surviving. She was thriving in her role as protector. But there was something heartbreaking about this whole situation. This puppy, so young and full of potential, had already taken on the weight of responsibility. She had given up her own needs for the sake of the kitten. It made me wonder about the circumstances that led them here. How had they ended up in this alleyway, abandoned and forgotten by the world? The puppy's protective stand spoke volumes. She wasn't just guarding a box. She was guarding the one thing she held dear in this world, the kitten. It was clear now that the bond they shared was unlike anything I had ever witnessed. This wasn't just a friendship. It was a lifeline. The puppy had taken on the responsibility of protecting the kitten with a level of care and devotion that surpassed her age. I bent down to pick up the puppy, feeling her trembling body relax in my arms. It was as if she knew she had done her job. The kitten was safe. I could feel the weight of the puppy's love for the kitten, and it filled me with an overwhelming sense of gratitude. I looked down at both of them, feeling a deep connection to these two little souls who had found each other in the most unlikely of circumstances. And in that moment, I knew what I had to do. I couldn't leave them here, abandoned and vulnerable. I would take them home, give them the warmth they needed, and help them heal. But as I walked away with the puppy in my arms, I realized something else. The puppy had already shown me the greatest lesson. Sometimes, the purest forms of love come from the most unexpected places. And in the midst of struggle and hardship, there is always a chance for hope, for healing, and for love to find its way. I arrived home, carrying both the puppy and the kitten with me. As I entered the warmth of my house, I set them down gently on a soft blanket I had prepared for them. The puppy looked around, her eyes wide and curious, but still vigilant. She immediately took her place beside the kitten, laying down protectively next to her new friend. The kitten, still weak but more settled, snuggled up against the warmth of the puppy's body, seeking comfort in the only family it had known. I knew this was just the beginning of their journey. There was so much more they needed: proper food, medical care, and time to heal. But in this moment, they were safe. And that was the most important thing. Over the next few weeks, I watched as the puppy and kitten grew stronger together. The puppy, once shy and protective, began to play, her energy returning. The kitten, no longer trembling and frail, started to explore the house, chasing after the puppy's tail in their little games. It was clear to me that these two creatures were inseparable. They had found something that neither could have achieved alone: love, security, and family. I couldn't help but think back to the day I first found them in that alleyway. What had seemed like an unlikely encounter turned into something beautiful, something life-changing. The puppy had taught me more about love and loyalty than I could have ever imagined. She had given everything to protect her new friend, and in doing so, she found a family of her own. As I watched them play together, I felt my heart swell with gratitude. In the face of adversity, they had found each other, and in the process, they had found their new home,